In 2004, a series of vanishings began to haunt Kansas City. At first, law enforcement saw no clear pattern connecting the cases, as people seemed to simply step out of their lives and never return. The targets were seemingly random. A student vanished after work, a taxi driver during pickup. The lack of a specific demographic made it impossible for investigators to predict where the next person might be taken. This text message, sent by a young woman just before her phone went dead, was the only piece of digital evidence left behind. With no bodies, no witnesses, and no physical evidence at the points of disappearance, the investigation stalled in a total silence that terrified the local community. A change in the investigation started at a local junkyard. While clearing out a pile of rusted car parts, a worker discovered an old toolbox buried deep in the mud. Inside the toolbox was a dust-covered camcorder. The tape inside revealed a decrepit basement lit by a single swinging bulb. In the center of the room, a man sat tied to a chair, visibly shaking as the camera focused on him. The person filming never stepped in front of the lens. Instead, a distorted, whispering voice claimed that people disappear every day, and that no one pays attention until it's too late. This footage proved that the missing persons cases were the work of a single individual, one who wasn't just killing, but documenting his process for an audience. Police traced the camcorder to a stolen van belonging to one of the victims, but the vehicle offered no usable fingerprints or clues to the basement's location. Soon, more tapes began appearing in public places. One was mailed to a news station. Another was found inside this church donation box. The recordings featured the same basement, offering only fragments of the killer, like black leather gloves, heavy mud-stained boots, and the sound of heavy breathing. Every tape ended with the same whispered question: "Do you think people will remember you tomorrow?" By placing these tapes in the hands of the media and the public, the killer ensured that the entire city was forced to witness his work, turning his crimes into a shared psychological burden. As the tapes circulated, Kansas City changed. Streets emptied after dark, and residents formed online forums to share theories and report suspicious sightings. Investigators were baffled by how the killer moved. This map shows his suspected routes, which threaded directly between police checkpoints and managed to stay in the blind spots of every surveillance camera in the district. The precision of his movements suggested he was monitoring police scanners to track patrol locations in real time. This raised a disturbing possibility. The killer either had a background in law enforcement or was someone currently working within the system, using that knowledge to stay one step ahead of the search. At 3 a.m., during a heavy rainstorm, a blood-covered man stumbled out of the darkness and into the light of a local gas station. He told police he had escaped an underground room where he was held by a man who wore different disguises every time they interacted. He described an environment of total disorientation, where loud music was played constantly to make it impossible for victims to tell how much time had passed. The survivor also noted that the basement walls were papered with old news clippings of historical serial killers. This detail suggested a specific kind of vanity. The butcher wasn't just a predator, he was a student of these crimes, attempting to model his own actions after the figures he read about. Detectives moved quickly to secure the survivor at a local hospital, hoping a second, more detailed interview would help them identify the basement's location. When they arrived at his room the next morning, they found nothing but unmade sheets. The man had vanished from the hospital without being seen by staff or captured on security footage. It remains unclear if the survivor was taken a second time or if he simply fled into the night to escape the shadow of the man who held him. Some modern researchers now question if the entire story was a sophisticated hoax, noting the lack of physical records outside of the tapes themselves. Whether he was a real killer or an elaborate fiction, the result is decades of unsolved debate and thousands of forum posts. By leaving behind a mystery with no resolution, he ensured that people would still be asking his question 20 years later. For more case files on the killers and hoaxes that still haunt the internet, subscribe to the channel.